Why is this so important to you, Braden? Well, you obviously seem fired up this morning. Well, I hope deservedly so. Earlier on the news this week, I'm sure you saw it, yet another shooting in the United States. It's so commonplace, you hardly bat an eye at it. Here at the end of Romans 1, bear with me, this will make sense. Here at the end of Romans 1, verse 28, we have the third of three, God gave them up. This is what happens when a people, when a culture, when an entire nation, a society turns away from God. They say, we don't need you, we don't want you. He says, fine, here's what life is like without me, and he gives them up. God gave them up. At verse 24, Romans 1:24, gave them up to lusts. At verse 26, he gave them up to dishonorable passions. Verse 28, Romans 1:28, since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind. Maybe you remember the KGV, the reprobate mind. It's a brain, it's a thinking that doesn't work anymore. It makes no sense. It is living in a culture of insanity. And earlier this week, when I read about the people in Cleveland, Texas, who asked their neighbor, could you please stop shooting your rifle into the air? Our baby's trying to sleep. And then he walks over and murders 5 of them. We are in a culture of insanity. We are living in the reprobate mind. We are in Romans 1:28. And incidentally, this is from the political left and the political right. It is just as insane for any people to say, I love my guns more than I love children. It is just as insane to say that as it is to say a woman can identify as a man or a man can identify as a woman and clean everybody's clock in sporting events. It is insane on the left and the right. We are mired in a culture of insanity. What does this have to do with the new birth? Because revival and turning to God will not come by any other way, shape, or means, either individually or corporately, be it a people, a neighborhood, a town, a church, or a nation. Ye must be born again. The insanity will only end when people return to God. They can only return to God if they are born again. And so our evangelistic cry, this is not a political cry, our evangelistic cry, because these are the evidences of a nation under wrath. That's why Pastor Braden's so worked up. These are the evidences of a nation and a people under wrath. And make no mistake, we are not exempt. We're just under a different kind of it. God has likewise abandoned this nation as well, so our cry must be the same. Beyond turn and repent. I mean, that is a legitimate cry, but it will not happen legitimately unless people are born again of the Spirit, unless they are convicted of their spiritual poverty and they turn to God en masse and individually saying, save me, what else do I have to do? Only you alone can help. Only you alone can save me. Not, as we sang, not what my hands have done can save my guilty soul. We do pick these hymns on a theme. You and you alone. Now, in Whitfield's time, remember I said, cast your mind back to the beginning of this sermon. In Whitfield's time, this was new. This was new. When he continually cried out, you must be born again, even though a people of the book, a people steeped in Christian upbringing, should have heard it, should have known it, they didn't. It came to them shockingly. Whitfield might as well have put truly, truly ahead of it. It was so dumbfoundingly new. The person who wrote the biography in 1899 said, well, this is not the case now, but it was 130 years ago. This is not 1899. If anything, this is 1760 again. And a nation birthed in Christendom, given the word, raised in churches ostensibly, nevertheless, judged by the evidence, doesn't know ye must be born again. That's why it's insane here. It's a nation full of dead bones. It's a nation full of dead, Ezekiel 37, people without the Spirit. So what's our prayer? What's our evangelistic cry? It's beyond tell them to shape up. It's birth them anew.